What's happening, my fallible investors? Tell me something. Have you failed today? If so, then great work. I am proud of you. If not, then maybe you should consider pushing yourself a little harder, because failure is actually a good thing. And that's what we're gonna talk about today, failure in trading. Now I know we've all had losing trades and we've all had rough patches where it felt like we are never gonna get any better at this game. And that's why I wanna talk about why failure in the market is not only okay, but it'll actually contribute to your long-term success in the market. And who better to help us with this topic other than Jack Schwager himself? And if you don't know Jack, well, he's the guy who wrote all the Market Wizards books, where he interviews almost every legendary trader there is, from Paul Tudor Jones to Stanley Druckenmiller to Ray Dalio. He's got everybody in his books. And his Market Wizard books are basically the go-to for new and old investors alike to learn about markets. If you haven't read them yet, definitely check them out. But anyway, here's Jack on failure.
So, say the first chapter. The first chapter's theme is failure. That's a good place to start. Failure is something that a lot of people get very dismayed about. Obviously, it's not a pleasant thing. The lesson in that first chapter, though, is that there have been many great traders that I've interviewed who failed miserably at the beginning, sometimes multiple times, and yet succeeded enormously. And that was because they still believed that they had what it took, that it was just a matter of keeping at it, and they had the perseverance to do it, and they did have the talent and skill. So the lesson is, just because you experience early failure does not mean that that's a prediction of what's going to be the future. Now, it doesn't guarantee you to be successful either, but it is hopeful to know that a lot of super successful people did not start out that way.
It's funny because when it comes to trading, everyone thinks they can do it. Because it looks easy, right? You're just clicking a few buttons. Oh, this Apple's a good stock. It'll go up. I'll make a bunch of money. But people quickly realize that it's not that easy. And this is especially tough when they come from a high-level occupation, like engineers or doctors. And they're all very good at their own particular job, but they come to the market and it's a huge slap in the face. Because they think if they're successful in that job, then it should transition over into the market. But it doesn't. The market is really tough regardless of your past experiences. The worst I've probably seen is doctors who think they're good at everything. They come in acting like they're George Clooney from ER and act like trading is gonna be so easy. And of course it's not. They lose, but they still talk a big game anyway. A lot of times when doctors start talking about stocks with me, I just stop them right there. Hey, before we talk about that, I got this weird thing on my inner thigh. Here, let me take my pants down and show you real quick. They usually walk away right after that. Me personally, when I came to the game, I thought it would be easy too, because I thought trading was genetic. My dad was good at it, so I figured I'd be good at it too. And of course, it was not that easy. I was losing a lot in the beginning. And the worst is when a new person comes in and actually starts making good money in the beginning, because what that usually comes from is luck. So eventually the market turns around and they lose all that they made plus more. So it hurts even worse. And what happens in all these situations is that your ego gets bruised pretty bad. You think you're good and then you find out that you're not, and that hurts. So it makes you want to quit. And at that point, a lot of people say that it's not their fault that they're losing. There's something wrong with the market. It's manipulated. There's no way to win. If they're not making money, then no one's making money, which is just not true. See, it's important to realize that that initial failure is okay. Like Schwager said in that interview, most if not all of the traders that he interviewed went through the same process. But the key is to not give up. You got to keep learning and iterating until you're consistently profitable. Now keep watching, because next we're going to talk about how failure actually helps your trading in the long run. The truth is, in trading, as in with everything else, you learn a lot more from your failures than your successes. Paul Tudor Jones has actually said that he never hires anyone who hasn't blown up an account. And that's because you learn things from losing that you can't learn otherwise. For example, risk management. The emotional pain you feel from losing real money is the best reminder to always control your risk. But if you never lost money in the first place, then you're never going to have that reminder. And there's no substitute for it. You need to experience that at some point so that in the future you know how to deal with it when you're in a drawdown. Now there is a qualifier here. Losing and failure is okay, but when you're doing it, you want to be doing it on a smaller account. You don't want to have failure on your life savings. That is going to set you back far enough that you won't recover. So when it comes to learning, especially from failure, start small. You got to test, and then as you become comfortable and learn more, then expand into bigger money. And on this channel, we're actually going to go over how to develop and test strategies in the future. So if you want to see those videos, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell so you get notifications when they're released. Now in this interview, Jack also shares the story of a baseball player named Bob Gibson, who's one of the best pitchers of all time. But he didn't start out like that. Here's the clip.
Remember, you gave the example of Bob Gibson, who's a Hall of Fame pitcher. I'm a big baseball fan as well. And how when he first went out and pitched, he did horribly. The first few times he went out, got sent back to the minors, and then came back and had obviously a Hall of Fame career. Now, it's the same is true for a lot of these traders, is it not?
Absolutely. And that kind of story stuck with me because Bob Gibson was one of the only, I think there may have been something like 65 65 pitchers in the history of baseball, I mean, all the way back, that have given up a home run to the first batter they faced in the majors. And the irony that when I read that Bob Gibson was one of those 65 pitchers, that stuck with me because he went on to become, it depends on who you're using, but experts place him some will place him in the top 10 of all time, some in the top 20. So he was certainly one of the best pitchers that ever lived. And yet he did the worst possible thing you could do as a pitcher is give up a home run to your first batter. And he also, from there, had some other bad outings right after that, got sent back to the minors. So again, it's a perfect analogy to this idea that just because you fail in the beginning doesn't mean that you're going to fail in the long term. In Gibson's case, he had the talent and he had the perseverance and the belief. Same with the traders I interviewed. Yes. Did some of them fail in the beginning? Yes. Did some of them fail multiple times? Yes. But they had that belief that they could do it, and they kept at it and ultimately were very successful.
So the moral of the story is that perseverance works in trading, just like it works everywhere else. So if you're in a rough patch, don't give up. Keep going. I believe in you. Now, if you want more videos like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We publish about 3 a week on a variety of topics, from trade ideas to trade strategies and everything else. So subscribe and I'll see you in the next video. Stay fallible out there. Bye.